Yesterday, around 5:30 p.m., we saw this tweet from Avi Yemini. Breaking: upon arrival in Los Angeles, I was detained and interrogated by the FBI and am currently waiting to be deported from the USA. The informant was Comedy Central. Full details when I get back home. I believe that Avi is Australian and Israeli. I don't know. I believe he was flying in from Australia, but he was also flying with Sydney Watson. Okay. Some context for those that aren't familiar. Avi's the person who released this video where he secretly recorded an interview with Jim Jeffries. Jim Jeffries is a comedian. He has a show on Comedy Central. And the quick version, because I'm sure many of you already know this, Avi said he would do an interview if there was no white supremacists in it and if they didn't mix and match his answers. Well, of course, they did do exactly those two things. So what Avi did was he secretly recorded the interview, and you can see that Jim Jeffries makes ridiculously, absurdly offensive comments. He draws a picture of Muhammad, insults the prophet, he makes jokes about killing Muslim babies, and, some people have argued, he's trying to coax Avi into saying something. Look, whatever your argument is, the situation is that Avi didn't say the things the way Comedy Central tries to frame them. That's fake news. It's not satire. It's not The Onion, right? The Onion's funny, okay? The Onion makes things up that are clearly not real. This is meant to look real, and then they roll their eyes at it and go, aren't they crazy? And that's what's supposed to be funny. It's an us versus them thing. They smeared Avi by manipulating the video. This video from Avi's got 2 million views. 2 million views. You can see here, I use this tool called vidIQ. It's got 30,000 Reddit upvotes. 30,000. About 5,000 comments on 25 different posts. This is a huge story. Now, it looks like Avi was deported. We have this image from him. He released it shortly after. Finally released from detention on my way home. Thanks for all the love and support. So I guess he's gone. I guess he's out, but there's some interesting developments here because Avi was supposed to be coming to the U.S. to actually appear on the Rubin report. Dave Rubin tweeted, I guess that means your appearance on my show this week is canceled. Is Jim Jeffries running the TSA? And then he posts the context. So here's some more important information on a video I made a little while ago. I reached out for comment to the communications team at Comedy Central. They responded asking me which outlet I was from. I gave them a series of questions. I read them on a different video. I told them that I was with Subverse because Subverse, as many of you know, is the official branded site and news outlet that is being launched. This was going to be more for like a potential breakdown, which may or may not have ended up on the Subverse website, which, yes, we are building, and I have to start doing news. But upon my answer, they stopped responding. And I think the reason for it is they don't care about who I am. And they're not going to answer questions. If the New York Times reached out to them, they'd probably give them some generic garbage statement. This is outrageous. It is absolutely absurd about what is happening, what Jim Jeffries did to Avi Yemini, but this is industry standard. Some people have pointed out accurately that, of course, this was going to happen. Avi should have known better. He should have, but if Avi trusts them and says, if you're going to do the interview this way, I'm okay with it, well, then what do you expect? I'm not going to blame Avi for trusting a news network to upkeep their word. No, fool me once, shame on you. If Avi went in an interview with him again, then I'd roll my eyes. But look, we know what Comedy Central does when they manipulate interviews, and Avi thought by simply saying, if you don't do that, I'll do the interview, would be enough. Apparently not. Here's the thing. One of the questions I asked of Comedy Central was, did you have an arrangement with Avi Yemini? They didn't respond. I can only assume, based on the preponderance of evidence, we're not talking about a court here, if Avi says X happened, I reach out to the communications team and ask them a series of questions to which they respond so they have the questions, but then don't answer them. They're voting present, essentially. They're saying, like, yes, we're aware of your questions. Bye. Okay, well then I'm going to have, the only evidence I can go off of, the only assumption I could make is that I lean slightly towards Avi telling the truth in this matter, because Comedy Central had the questions, responded with an email, but not to the questions, just who I was, and then didn't respond. I followed up, I think, 3 or 4 times. I have not let the story go, nor will I, especially as it continues to develop. Now, apparently, Avi was supposed to appear on Louder with Crowder as well. So this is ridiculous. Avi is a decently sized YouTuber. He's controversial in some ways, but he's not. I'll say this: I am not super familiar with what's happening with. I'm sorry, I'm not super familiar with all of Avi's content. I looked at his YouTube channel. I went back. He's got some IDF training videos, so seems like another conservative personality. Dave Rubin tweeted again. Tweeted following this. First time I've had a guest turned around at the U.S. border. Does Comedy Central run the TSA? That would explain a lot, actually. Everyone should watch this to see the perfection collision. I think he was saying perfect collusion. He's probably using voice to text. Of leftist media manipulation, comedy, and dishonest smearing. The important point here is understanding the difference between false framing and a joke. The Onion wrote an article the other day that said cackling Julian Assange disintegrates into lines of code as baffled police, look on confused. It was funny. I mean, I don't know if we should be joking about what's happening with Assange, but I can appreciate humor in certain instances, and this was actually funny. It made Assange look powerful and and defiant. And it was like an image of Julian Assange levitating in the air as his body disintegrates into lines of code. No one in their right mind would believe that actually happened. It was a simple paragraph where it's just hilarious. This, on the other hand, the actual interview that Jim Jeffries does, let me see, he actually cuts it so that different answers and reactions are to different questions. It's what they do. It's what they do. And you have to realize something. When people actually get their news from The Daily Show, and they do, when they actually get their news from John Oliver, people who admit they aren't journalists, people who admit they are lying, they don't call it lying because it's comedy. You're not supposed to take it seriously, right? That's what they do. So you'll get someone like Jim Jeffries to sit down with Avi Yemini, and he'll say something like, what do you, what kind of face would you make if I gave you a lemon? And he'll go, and he'll do that reaction, right? They'll then use that reaction to a different question. So I'll say something like, how do you feel about this group of people? And then they show the lemon sour face. Obviously, Jim Jeffries did not ask him to make a lemon sour face. But you see the point I'm making. He'll ask him a series of questions to get him angry, even drawing a picture of Muhammad and joking about killing Muslim babies, so that Avi clearly recoils, and then he uses that recoil, which was in the context of actually being disgusted with Jim, to make it seem like he's disgusted with Islam or individuals. And that's how they do it. People are going to watch this show, and they probably have, and they believe it. Now here's the important question. Avi says the informant was Comedy Central. That's a bold claim. Bold claim. Mike Stutchberry is said noise. I'm not entirely sure why Mike is cheering for a tourist being turned away at the border, especially considering we know that Jim Jeffries lied and manipulated the video. I'm not sure if Mike is in favor of manipulated fake news under the guise of comedy, or what his defense of it would be. But we do have a couple articles that were written, and there's some other context around this too that I'll hit at. I'm not familiar with what Political Light is. This is the website I'm on, but there's only a couple websites that have actually written about this. But one of the other important bits of information in the story is that Facebook permanently removed Avi's page. Now, apparently, Avi didn't actually use it. It's my understanding. It's like he had a page and he kind of used it sometimes, and Facebook permanently banned it. They go on to say that Avi revealed he was heading to the States to confront the fake news media and was due to appear on the Rubin Report and Louder with Crowder, to name a few, to hit back at the liberal media machine that falsely tried to link him to the New Zealand incident. Yes, that's basically some more important context. This interview that he did with Jim Jeffries happened, according to Avi, months and months ago. It was then following New Zealand. They edited this together to make him look really bad. And I think he's actually wearing a yarmulke in this interview. Avi. Yeah, I believe so. Except he was in the IDF. I believe he's Israeli. They show this. They go on to say that Danny Tomo also asked, good friends and TR News reporter Azraeli. Oh, that's that. There you go. Oz, like Aussie. Being detained and then deported because he was traveling to find fake news icon Jim Jeffries. Now, see, here's the important thing. If Avi was coming here and he stated his intention was to go and confront or find Jim Jeffries, that's a problem, and that might actually get you detained. I'm surprised he was deported especially considering he's Australian, part of the Commonwealth. Usually the U.S. is okay with that. They also go on to say, in March, Political Light revealed Avi had his Facebook page permanently banned for alleged hate speech following the expose of the Comedy Central host. Facebook unpublished his page in March and sent the activist a message saying your page has been unpublished for using hate speech, which goes against the Facebook community standards. Avi exclusively told Political Light, I hardly used it, but I've lost over 300,000 followers, as this is the third page they have banned. Facebook is done. Their ongoing attack on free speech is ultimately going to cost them their business. Yup. And I made a video about this the other day, Dissenter. And now apparently there are clones of Dissenter that just link to Dissenter. So if you're not familiar, Dissenter is from Gab. And this is what happens. This is what you do. You ban people. They don't just stop existing. It's like the people in Facebook and Twitter and all these regressive leftists think covering their eyes makes everyone disappear. I'm sorry. When you ban someone, when you get rid of them, you don't do what you think you're doing. You're just moving them somewhere else, and they will grow their own community. Now there are alternatives to Dissenter that just clone the comments from Dissenter. So it's a different, and what are they going to do? They're going to play whack-a-mole? You're going to keep playing whack-a-mole with the Chrome store, trying to stop this from happening. You can't. You can't censor the internet. I mean, you can try. China certainly does. But people in China still produce YouTube videos. There's a lot of prominent Chinese YouTubers and personalities who still get information in and out. So I just don't think it's going to be successful. But one more thing I will add before signing off is welcome to the Streisand effect. This story won't go away. The original video has over 2 million views, and as I mentioned, 25 Reddit posts with over 30,000 upvotes. It's not going to stop, and this is only going to make the story bigger. Just because Avi is being deported doesn't mean he won't appear on the Rubin report or on Crowder. They might just have to Skype with him. And this is going to result in the show getting massive traction, and the story won't stop. Jim Jeffries is awful thing to do. I hate fake news and I hate manipulation, but I'll leave it there. Stick around. I got another video coming up for you at 1 p.m. I will see you then.